What's up, Home Slices? It's Kira with Home Slice Adulting coming to you with my review for season 3 of The Circle, a social media competition, episode number 3. So, again, we are back. This is my last review for the day because Netflix has annoyingly become wise to the fact that we like to binge this type of stuff. So back in the day when we had to watch things on TV and that was our only option, we usually had to wait a whole week until a new episode came out. And with Netflix, they would put whole seasons of stuff on their platform so we didn't have to wait. A new season of something would come out, we would binge the whole season in a day and it would be over with. Now Netflix is flipping the script back to the olden days where we gotta wait another week to do the dang thing. I'm annoyed. Anyways, so this is episode 3. Yeah, I'm gonna use this machine to go back okay, because I'm trying to remember how things happen in the show, so I'm using the little scroll situation thingy. Okay, so in the beginning of this episode, that's right. In the beginning of this episode, they are voting on who to let go. Which Michelle, Orange Michelle or Blue Michelle to let go. And so as I was watching this episode, I'm kind of thinking like, hey, something about this doesn't seem fair because in this particular instance, a person who has already lost has been given a chance to come back as somebody else, but it's not like before. Last time, 2 people were eliminated and they got to come back together at the end, but they also had the disadvantage of coming in as the last new player. And so when you have new players, they're typically disadvantaged because the older players who have been in the game longer have already bonded and established alliances. So you balance the fact that you came back with the fact that they would have to split the prize money 50-50, and also with the disadvantage that they were new players that hadn't really formed a lot of alliances with everybody. So that's that, right? But now you're playing with these people's fates. You're giving somebody who got eliminated right away another chance. They have to do it as a catfish, and they have to attack another player in the very beginning. And then that particular elimination is not an elimination that is spread across all of the players. It's only focused on these 2, one of which is obviously a catfish. And then the person who got eliminated, whichever Michelle got eliminated, doesn't even have an opportunity to say goodbye to everybody, right? To tell them you eliminated the wrong Michelle, right? So now this person doesn't get to speak up for themselves. So again, it was an interesting twist, but it seemed less fair than the twist that they did last time. So I'll say that. Anyways, the problem with the way they did the voting was they did it in a group chat. Instead of having everyone be on their own, select who they thought was the fake Michelle, and have all of the results pop up either at once or pop up in order since they had already voted, it created a situation where once it was obvious that people thought it was the Orange Michelle, it's like a confirmation bias. So like if they would have told everybody, like everybody vote at once and then we'll display the results, then everybody would have had an opportunity. And they could have even done it anonymously. Everybody would have had an opportunity to put their vote together, and it might have given Blue Michelle a better chance. But once the first 3 people spoke up and said Orange Michelle, even people who thought Blue Michelle was right went with Orange Michelle anyway. Because if Orange Michelle is going to win, it's best to not be the only person who doubted her, because now that creates an opportunity for you to be targeted by the remaining Michelle. So the way that they did the voting was messed up. You could see who voted. You could see what other people thought before you had an opportunity to vote. And that just created a problem for the real Michelle. So I didn't like the way that vote went down. If they're going to do twists like this, they could at least make it as fair as possible. And it was not fair to the real Michelle. Again, this is elder abuse. We gotta, who do you call about elder abuse? Anyways, moving on. Everybody said orange. And of course, Michelle goes to, again, I think one of the things that she didn't necessarily think about strategically was that instead of confronting the people, again, like I said, she had unnecessarily kind of called or had a chat with the other Michelle. And I think that was just a waste of a chat. She could have spent that time convincing other people that she was the real Michelle. But anyways, she went to confront the people who were obviously catfishing as her. And it's like, you don't necessarily need to know their identity. You just need to know that they were playing a game. And the problem was, she even got into the room and was just so kind of okay with everything. It's not even like you got to give a piece of your mind. And then she didn't even recognize the girls at first because they put on wigs, and finally realized that they were the sisters that got booted off the first time and they were given a second chance. And then Michelle goes on to give them tips about how to play the game, saying that Daniel was, basically two-faced because he told her that he believed her and then voted against her anyway. So it's like, okay, what was the point? You confront these people in a chat. You confront these people face-to-face when you finally lose. And additionally, you give them tips on how to play the game better. What was the point? Now, what I would have done if I were the real Michelle is I would have went to go see Kay, because Kay right now is one of the highest rated influencers. And if I show her that I am the real Michelle, Kay has the most influence to get the person who's catfishing as me up out of there. That's the best revenge. Okay, so I don't know why she didn't play it more strategically. She was more concerned about confronting these people who were pretending to be her. And it's like, you don't necessarily need to know their identity. You just know that they're not you. And you let other people who are staying in the game know that it's not you, so that they know who to get the F out of there. So that's that. I think she made a big mistake. Whatever. So the problem that is hatched the next day as they all do a circle chat is that nobody wants to confess that Michelle came to see them. I think the second Michelle's biggest mistake was saying she didn't come to see us. That was the biggest mistake that they made. She could have, the way they could have played it was said, the person who was pretending to be Michelle, the person who was catfishing, or what was it? They could have said the orange Michelle came to visit us last night because they felt so guilty about pretending to be us. You all will never guess, you all will never guess who it was. Apparently the circle allowed Ava and her sister Chanel to come back to play a clone. Like, they could have totally turned things on its head and actually told some version of the truth to make things seem... Okay, hold on. Okay, I got a call. I'm going to call him back. Sorry. They could have turned the tables to make things seem more legit. Like, oh, the circle's getting crazy. There's a little twist. I think nobody fessing up to the fact that Michelle came to see them was a big mistake. So I think that they messed up there. So there were a bunch of little side conversations here and there. The one that really turned out, or one of them that turned out to be really impactful, was the one that the fake Michelles did with Kay. And because they were not really 52-year-old white women from South Carolina, they were a little too, there was like two places that they messed up for me. The first place that they messed up was saying that I wish I was 20 years younger because one of the new people is attractive. I don't think the real Michelle would ever say anything like that because she's married. So that was like mistake number one. Kay didn't seem to really pick up on that. But the second mistake that Kay did pick up on was that she seemed more interested in learning more about who Kay was talking to. The issue with learning about the issue that Kay had was that she gave Michelle too much information. Because she purposely kind of waited and was like, how am I going to play this? And she purposely said, like, I don't want to give too much information. And then immediately gave too much information. Basically, she was like, well, there's a new player who is cute. New player's name is Jackson. And then there's Calvin, who's been there the whole time, who she's also forming a little flirty alliance with. And she puts that information in the chat. And it's like, so you basically, in that moment where you said you weren't going to give anything away, have already identified two people who you are at least somewhat attracted to. And you've given that information to somebody that you don't even know is Michelle. Okay, so big mistake. Huge. Moving on, let's talk about the new people, y'all. So we got two new people. We have a 22-year-old young gay woman from Alabama named Sophia, who is catfishing as Isabella, who is, the pictures are actually of her conventionally attractive sister. I don't understand why they don't just give the catfishes their own names. Why couldn't the catfish be named Sophia? That would just make more sense. Because if somebody's using your name, you would respond to that. I don't get it. Why does she have to be Isabella? Why don't you name her your catfish persona Sophia, your same name? It just don't make no sense. Anyways, Sophia is gay. It was interesting growing up being gay in a town in Alabama that has more churches than people, apparently, or whatever she said it was. So there's that. She is attending college. She comes off as quirky, but also devious. I'll explain the devious comment later, but there's something about her that's like, something's a little devious more when they play that other game. The other person who comes is a 24-year-old woman named Rachel, who is catfishing as a young man named Jackson. Jackson's photos are actually of a young man who is Rachel's friend's boyfriend. Anyways, that's who she's catfishing as. She thinks that she can flirt with women as a woman who is straight. It's not gonna work out. Moving on. I don't think that she can pull it off. She had a hard time communicating with people. And so both of the catfish got to talk to each other, whatever, not interesting. And then the rest of the group gets introduced to these people, and they also put out videos from when, pictures on people's profiles from when all of them were younger. So they all do little photos of when they were younger. Michelle, the remaining Michelle, caught a little flack because the picture that they chose didn't tell much about her, personality, or didn't really show anything that wasn't already shown about Michelle. So people kind of caught on there that something was off, right? Also, this is where Roxana puts out a photo of her full body and shows that she is actually a little person, and everyone is very supportive about that, so that is wonderful. And then this is where the new people get introduced to the rest of the group. Okay, whatever. People like Jackson think he's cute, people like Isabella think she's cute, whatever, blah 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 blah. So yeah, moving on. I'm just scrolling through a little bit. They're sizing each other up, figuring each other out, doing little chats here and there, doing a big chat with everybody. There's some little side conversations that go on with Roxana and Calvin. They have a chat. Who cares? Kay is doing yoga and she gets a chat from Jackson and they're flirting it up. Again, this is where we see that Rachel is going to have a harder time than she thinks pretending to be a guy and flirting. Okay. Interestingly enough, Kay, with all of her skills of perception, does not realize that she's not talking to a guy and just kind of really falls for his beautiful smile. Anyways, moving on. They play a game called the flashback quiz where they have to do what is it called, trivia, where, well, is this the same episode? They have to do trivia. The new people have to do trivia and answer some questions, and each question that they both get correct, they are able to each question that they both get correct, they are able to get some invites to a private party. They get 2 questions correct, so they get 4 invites, and they invite everybody except Daniel, Roxana, and is it Calvin that gets excluded? I think so. So yeah, the Michelles get invited. Daniel does not get invited. Roxana does not get invited, and Nick does not. Nick is the other person who doesn't get invited. And the problem is that instead of the non-party goers being able to do a chat, they are left buffering the whole night. So they're just hanging out by themselves, and they hear all the party music. Rude. They hear all the party music going on. Unfortunately, so not only do they not get to be a part of the party, they can hear everybody else partying. So there's some salty feelings about that afterwards. But at the end of the night, who is this? Nick reaches out to Isabella. They have a little chat. Sophia, who is playing Isabella, is trying to flirt as a straight woman. She's doing okay. Nick is just oblivious. And he's just playing it up with all the pretty girls and like a couple bros. And I don't know how long he's going to last in this game. I don't think that strategy is going to completely work for him. But that's the end of episode 3. I'm just now realizing that I watched 2 episodes back to back. I thought it was all one episode. I don't know what's going on, y'all. So that's it for this particular episode. The 2 new people, again, just as a person who tries to do my best to be honest and forthright and forthcoming, don't really care for players who come in as catfish. Like right away, they got a scarlet letter in my book, a scarlet C for catfish. And so I don't necessarily really care for either of them. But also there is something quite devious about Sophia, who's playing Isabella. Something I can't put my finger on yet, but I'll come back to you all with another review for episode 4, apparently. Peace out, Home Slices.